Hello, welcome to the Mythology Manifest. In my last video, I discussed the two origin stories of the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite, and she was the final Olympian I had a video based on for now. So for today's video, I am going to do a quick rundown of the important gods I have mentioned in my videos so far. So I'll begin by focusing on the major gods, the first 6 Olympians, who Kronos, their father, who was a Titan, devoured when they were born. We have Hestia, who was the eldest. Her name meant fireside, and she was the goddess of the hearth and homes. She was probably the calmest of all of the gods, and was usually the one who would mediate during any family arguments. The second born was another girl, called Hera, meaning queen, which is quite well done on her mother's part, as she became queen of the gods in the future, as well as the goddess of marriage and family. She was an angry goddess and very vengeful, but then again, who wouldn't be when married to someone like Zeus? After Hera came Demeter. Her name meant earth lover. She was a quiet goddess who had a very close connection with her grandmother, the earth goddess Gaia. Because of this, she became the goddess of agriculture and the harvest. She also later played a large role in the life of her daughter, Persephone, which is an incredibly interesting myth, which I will be doing a video on in the future. Next came the first boy. His name meant unseen, and was Hades. He eventually became the god of the underworld, when the world was split by the gods, which meant he had to live down there instead of Olympus. This stripped him of his Olympian title, and because he was forced to live in the underworld, he was feared by mortals and misjudged by them as evil. The next born was another boy, who would eventually become the god of the sea and storms. His name meant husband and lord of the earth, and was Poseidon. He was also the god of horses, and he created them out of the sea foam in an attempt to seduce Demeter. It didn't work, and he later married a sea nymph named Amphitrite. The final child of Kronos and Rhea was another boy, who Rhea, his mother, hid to stop him from being eaten by Kronos. He was called Zeus, which meant sky or shine. Eventually, he cut his siblings out of their father, still breathing and fully grown, and together they took over the cosmos, defeating the Titans. Zeus married Hera and became king of the gods and deity of the sky, thunder, and lightning. After taking over the cosmos, more gods were created and became Olympians. The first was a product of Zeus's adultery on his wedding night with a titan called Metis. He got her pregnant and then ate her to stop her from giving birth in fear of a prophecy. This was a bad idea, as a few months later the Cyclops had to cut his daughter out of his head. Her name was Athena, and she became the Olympian of wisdom, battle strategy, and creativity. The next was a boy, Hephaestus. He was Hera's child, who she created on her own with a magic herb. Because she did it this way, her son ended up heavily disabled, and in fear of what would be said about her, she threw him off Mount Olympus. Eventually, he found his way back when he was fully grown. He got revenge on Hera before becoming the god of fire and metalwork, who made weapons for the gods, and marrying Aphrodite against her will. After the whole Hephaestus ordeal, Zeus and Hera had a son together. They named him Ares, which meant ruin or bane. He was kidnapped as a child by giants called the Alaudae, but was eventually rescued by some of his half-siblings. He eventually became the Olympian of war and bloodlust, and was also the main person Aphrodite cheated on Hephaestus with. After Ares, Zeus cheated on Hera again with the titan Leto, who fell pregnant by him. In anger, Hera cursed Leto to never give birth on fixed ground, but Leto found the moving island of Delos, where she gave birth to twins. Artemis was firstborn, and became the goddess of the hunt, as well as swearing off men forever, and eventually taking over from Selene as the goddess of the moon. Artemis's brother was Apollo. He became the god of prophecy, music, maths, archery, illness, and healing, and he eventually took over from Helios as deity of the sun. The next Olympian was another son of Zeus, this time with the mortal Semele, and in some myths Persephone. His name was Dionysus, which meant twice born, because in both versions of the myth, he or his mother were killed, and Zeus had to either give him a new life or rebirth him, thus giving him two births. Because of his traumatic beginnings, Dionysus was a jolly person who became god of wine and festivities. Zeus then cheated on Hera again, this time with a Pleiad nymph named Maia. Her son grew at more than just godly speed, and his first day alive he stole from Apollo and made a trade with the god. He created an instrument called a lyre, and told Apollo he could have it in exchange for his sacred cattle. As god of music, Apollo thought he needed the lyre, and agreed. The child then became the god of tricksters, travellers, and thieves, and was called Hermes, which meant pile of stones. The final Olympian was in some myths a child of Zeus and Dione, but in my preferred version, she was created as a mix of the sky god Uranus and the ocean. She emerged from the water on a shell and was the most beautiful woman ever to be created. The Moirae, or the Fates, found her and took her to Olympus and demanded that this woman, whom was called Aphrodite, should be made an Olympian because of her power, beauty, and parentage. Hestia gave up her throne to stop any arguments, and Aphrodite became the Olympian goddess of love and beauty. That was how the Pantheon and the 12 Olympians came to be. Who is your favourite god or goddess? Let me know down in the comments or on my Twitter, which I have left a link to in the description below. The reason I've done a summary of these for you is because I'm going to be moving on to Greek myths in popular culture and the Trojan War for my next few videos, and most of these gods play a major role in those. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment or subscribe. Thank you for helping me keep classics alive. My next video is going to be something a little bit different. I'm going to do a film review for a movie that I am sure many classicists have seen, Troy. I will see you next time on the Mythology Manifest.